Welcome to Stop the Ride, a sober curious podcast for anyone whose relationship with drugs or alcohol has felt a little bit like a roller coaster. I'm your host, Drew Valentino. Sobriety can mean a number of things, so each week I sit with a new guest to talk about why they decided to distance themselves from the drugs and the alcohol. So whether you are in recovery or just looking to make a few positive adjustments to your life, you are right where you need to be. And on this episode, I chat with adult content creator Troy Daniels about why he gave up alcohol and cocaine. Let's get into it. Hi everyone, welcome to the podcast. My name is Drew Valentino. We are here in Torremolinos, Spain, where I have a very special guest, my friend Troy Daniels. Hi.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Drew.
Thank you for being on the podcast. I'm really excited to have
this work class.
Yes. Yeah. And thank you, Alvaro, who works for Men at Play, does all the styling, has set this beautiful office up for us. I'm really excited to have you share your story with us today about sobriety, and because that's something that we bonded over since we met. We have known each other for 3 years.
Yeah, I think so.
And where did we meet?
So my remembering is that we first were writing on Instagram.
Yes.
I think you showed up under Juicy Fruit, maybe concurrently with Drew Valentino, but I knew Juicy Fruit XL first.
Yeah.
And then we met in LA. I think it was right after you won Best Newcomer.
I think we had sex.
We did. I mean, I'm getting to that point. Like, I think we met in LA as the first.
Yeah, I think so too, but to collide.
Yeah. You had won Best Newcomer, and we were supposed to film. And I wrote you, but you had a million text messages, understandably so, because you had just won. So I got lost.
Oh, I felt so bad.
And then I was like, well, I'm leaving, but I have time before my flight. And so we hung out before. I think that's
exactly what happened. I wanted to film with you. We were so excited. We were talking. We realized we were sober, and we bonded over that through message. And then we had these plans. And then I had just won when you were messaging me. Yes. Time, location, and I didn't respond for like 2 days. And I felt terrible.
What did I do? Why does he hate me?
Oh my God! But then we had sex, and
it was all better.
I do my big dick pics, everything. So anyway, how long have you been sober?
I've been sober for 17 years.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And what was your drug of choice, if not many?
Coke and vodka.
Oh, wow.
I don't have a lot of, I was just talking to someone else about this recently. I don't have a ton of experience with like party drugs. You know, everything that's kind of happening today with like K and G and MCAT. I know what they are, but I don't.
MCAT? I thought it was a test that you take to be an engineer. What is it? What is MCAT?
I thought that's also methadone.
Oh yeah, that's a very European drug. So that's, I think my sister took the MCAT. Okay.
But yeah, so I don't have a lot of experience with party drugs or anything like that. It was back in my day. It was just vodka and cocaine.
Oh, it's, just vodka.
The classics.
So how old were you, or what were your earliest exposures to really just drugs and alcohol in general?
I remember the first time. So my family, I was born and raised in the US, but I would like to say that my family is relatively European, and that I was often offered like red wine at dinner time. Like if it was a school night, probably not, but like a Friday or Saturday when we were having like a nice dinner, like it wasn't a big deal that we got like a little starter glass of wine at like 13, 14.
Oh, interesting.
So those were kind of like my first exposures to alcohol. And then first drug exposures was probably like smoking weed in high school. And then also doing heroin and meth.
Same. And also, I remember that when we were messaging about sobriety on Instagram once, I think I said like, I kind of said like something like along the lines of like, oh, we have so much in common because we both did heroin, and you're like, you never told me that. You're like, I didn't know. Told me that.
Yeah. So heroin in high school.
Wow. How old?
14.
Oh my God, that's
maybe 15, but around that age.
Yeah, I started 17, and that's crazy.
Late bloomer.
Yeah, late bloomer.
Still late.
So, okay, and when was the coke?
At 17, I moved out of my house and moved in with my aunt and uncle for school. and then moved to San Francisco to continue my education. So it was when I first started like going out and partying, and some of the art school students that I was hanging out with had cocaine. I tried it and loved it. And
yeah. The first time doing cocaine is the first time doing cocaine.
Yeah.
I remember I was hanging out with the wrong crowd in high school. I was 15 and my friend and her boyfriend, we snuck out at lunch because we're badass.
Yeah.
But which I thought that was the badass part, but they were like, we have coke. I'm like, I know we got McDonald's. Like, and look back, like,
Before or
that's
after?
disgusting. I don't know.
I hope you ate it before.
I think we ate it before. Or we had 2 bites. It just But I remember being like, I love this.
Yeah.
I want to do more of this.
Yeah.
How can I get more of this immediately?
That was exactly.
Do you know if addiction runs in your family?
I had an aunt who unfortunately passed from breast cancer several years ago, who was also long-term sober, and her partner was as well. A grandmother somewhere was also an alcoholic, but my family is very waspy and we don't talk about things. So like, besides those 2 examples, I couldn't tell you who else might be struggling with addiction in my family.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Because addiction definitely runs heavily in my family.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
That's a thing.
Do
And
you have other family members in recovery?
yes. Well, okay. So my mom had some issues with alcohol, over 10 years ago, because realistically it was, she had a lot of deaths we had a lot of deaths in the family, people that were very close to her sister, her mother, her father, that all happened at the same time. And then that kind of sent her in a dark place for quite a few years. Yeah. And luckily she has, since then been on a much better path. I would say probably like 10 years now. And she smokes weed.
Okay.
I don't care. My sister doesn't care. We don't care. We did not. It was not good when my mom was drinking. When my mom smoked the weed, she was just high. We're like, you smoke that weed. So I actually plan to have her on the podcast at some point, which is really cool.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't have to be. There's different paths to sobriety and there's different types of sobriety. I share all those different stories. So and then my grandpa was like a big alcoholic, and in fact he passed from liver cancer. So addiction definitely runs in the family. So when you were doing cocaine,
Well,
how was that? Was there anything? Any stories that come to mind? Cocaine is very expensive. Like any okay, because cocaine, I feel like specifically, it has such harsh consequences.
Yeah.
So is there any moments that come to mind of like that?
I often remember finding myself in situations that like I would have like a moment of high off my tits at like 4 a.m. and have like a moment of clarity of being like, what am I doing here? There was
eyes are all dilated.
Yeah, exactly. I think because like alcohol you can kind of get anywhere. It's so easily accessible that, especially once you're 21 or even 18 in some countries and some cities. But cocaine, obviously, there has to be like a middleman, or you have to find it through someone else. It is a very social drug also because it makes people really chatty and talkative and things like that. And so I found...
Sound good. Let's do some.
I know. That's why we have this platform, right? So I found that like, you would start conversations or like begin talking to people, and that would lead me rather down a nefarious path more often than not. And I remember like one evening when I lived in San Francisco in the Tenderloin. I didn't live in the Tenderloin, but I was in the Tenderloin because I was drinking there. And I was hanging out with a friend, and she had some other friends who were in like a punk band, and they had a golf cart. And it was just a 2-seater, but there were like 4 of us. And so 2 people were in the front, and I got in the back with my friend, and we were just driving around the Tenderloin, going to like bar to bar and finishing off bags. At like that, well, it would have been before 2 because they stopped drinking, but like the middle of the night, cutting corners where we're like on 2 wheels and just like being 19 and thinking this is the most amazing thing in the world. But now
That's like horrifying. And also, you could have died. You could have got arrested. And imagine getting arrested like I can't even imagine getting arrested coming down off of cocaine. Like, horrible. Well, you might not be coming down, but once you get arrested, then you would be. No, that sounds horrible. Totally could have got arrested. But nobody saw you.
No one saw us. No one stopped us. There were no cops. The Tenderloin in the 2000s, no cops were over there.
Honestly, I stopped cocaine way before I gave up drugs and be sober, which is actually ironic and bullshit that I'm saying that, because cocaine was probably one of the last drugs I did. But anyway, there was a period of time for years where I was like, I love drugs, but cocaine is horrible. And I just remember like nights of like when the sun's coming up, and one of my friends described it so perfectly. It's like when you're coming down off of cocaine the next day or even two, somebody could hand you $1 million and you'd be like, I don't care. I'm not happy about that. And it's so true. It's impossible to feel happy.
Robs all of your
head, your serotonin, whatever it is. It's such a harsh, painful day.
I always thought when I was first trying to get sober, I wasn't trying to stop drinking. I was trying to stop doing cocaine because I did see it as a problem. I did spending all of this money on it, and the consequences that I was having, like health, like bloody nose, lose your weight, and like cold sweats and everything, like nothing good happening from it. Like, I just need to stop this. And I kept setting this like challenge of like going 30 days without cocaine, which I never, until I actually like got sober, I could never, like I broke it every weekend, or I would get like 5. And then it's like, oh, it's Friday. Right. Monday through Friday. I mean it, Monday through Friday. Now it's time to do it again. And it wasn't until like later, or like when I like got to my like point of like sobriety, that it was like, no, it's like, it's not just this, it's everything. It's all or nothing.
Yeah. I think that's what a lot of us addicts come to realize at some point. Because when you try to justify it and say like, oh, well, I just have a problem with this. Or I'm going to just stick with this, which I don't have a problem. You slip. And then you beat yourself up in guilt. And something that I learned in my addiction is that this constant negotiation of like, am I doing too much? Or I want to do more. I'm trying to be conservative, but I want to be a little more high. Should I do more? Did I do too much? Now I feel like shit. That chaos, it was maddening, and that was its own consequence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Separate from the calm down, separate from the expense, separate from my nose burning, just the guilt of that, I think was like insanity.
But it's also, I found that like, for me, like, trying to stop one thing would lead me to lean more heavily on like another addiction. It's like, well, I can't do coke, so I need to get even drunker so that I literally can't call anyone.
Right. Yeah. It's like a transfer of addiction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And even when I got sober, I've been sober for almost 3 years. When I got sober again, in therapy, it came up the idea of cannabis? Question mark? People have less of a problem with that. And he said something, and he was like, and it's not like I was proposing it necessarily, it just came up, you know? And he was saying like, yeah, lots of people in California smoke weed. He's like, maybe that will work for you, but like, just not right now. You know, you are dealing with lots of change, lots of mental health things. And maybe we could revisit that idea in a year or 2 years, but like there's just no reason for you to be thinking about that right now. And I remember even months later thinking about the 1 year mark, and I was like, even that's just unhealthy. If I'm thinking about a specific 1 year mark, then when do I get to do it? And then the year passed, and I was like, I'm good. I don't need that.
I have a couple of friends who use psychedelics. They don't really drink anymore, like maybe a beer here or there, but like I wouldn't really consider them users. But sometimes they use psychedelics, LSD or mushrooms, and that's something that I've thought about strongly because of like their journeys and experiences. I personally don't have that much experience with it, and so I'm like, oh, that could be. But like, I kind of play the tape all the way through, and I'm like, no. Oh, I know that this will turn into very quickly. Like LSD will then become ecstasy, will become Molly, will become totally Berghain every weekend.
Something I've learned is that, well, I was sober for about 8 years in my 20s, and then now again for almost 3. And that's been really important to me for a lot of reasons, emotional reasons. And like, I have learned that if there is anything that alters the way I feel, even if I feel good, it just kind of scares me. And like, I feel guilty. Like, there's been times where I was prescribed, like I had surgery and I got pain medicine, which felt good.
Yeah.
But I've spent so much of my life sober and thinking about sober and feeling guilty about not being sober that even when it felt good, there was a part of me that's like, I don't like this. I feel guilty. And so with psychedelics, which are like more natural, mushrooms, more natural, maybe in ways therapeutic, that scares me because that's a commitment for hours.
Yeah.
I just not for me. But so then how did that progress? You started coke at 7?
Just like 18,
19. And then and when did you get sober?
I was 23.
So what happened from 17 to 23?
I was just going out a lot. I was partying a lot. I was drinking every week. Well, I was a daily drinker. Drinking every day. Cocaine mostly when I had like time off, like my weekends. I worked retail. So my days off for was kind of like different. And so like would just go to parties and a lot of drugs.
So what happened at 23 that made you want to go sober?
Like I said, it kind of increased in intensity over a longer period of time. And I eventually was just tired of feeling sick and tired. Like, as you said, it robs your brain of like dopamine and serotonin. And I just felt terrible for so long. And I remember being on a big party weekend where there used to be a party in San Francisco that went to Reno for Easter weekend, and it was a big party bus. Yeah, a lot of fun. It was a big party bus. You go there, and you were in Reno literally for like 18 hours, and you came back. The entire time, you don't sleep that entire time. And I was doing a ton of drugs. I did an 8-ball very, very quickly, and felt absolutely terrible. I was lying in bed like at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., like suicidal and really terrible. And people in San Francisco nightlife had made themselves available to me. People that were sober had made themselves available to me and told me that they were sober, and which I think is really important, and why I don't talk about it too much publicly. But on my sobriety birthday, I will say, like, if I can do it, you can do it. If you want to talk about anything, like, I'm here. I think it's important. I do understand the importance of remaining anonymous to a certain extent. I think that times have changed as well. And that if I were to relapse, it wouldn't be a reflection on the program.
Right. Because you did anything.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Okay.
It wouldn't be a reflection on the program. It would be a reflection on myself. And so the idea that, you have to stay anonymous because you don't want to be too closely associated to a program. You don't want to be the spokesperson for a program because the program itself is larger than any of us. But I still think it's important. And it was important for me when I was like finding my way to have like these like torches in my life. Told you were gonna make me cry.
I told you were gonna say this other
You can. So there were people that had reached out to me, or not reached out to me, but they had made themselves available and said that they were sober. And so after this party weekend, like when I got myself together and slept a little bit, I reached out and talked to a couple ones, and I went to a meeting the next day, and that was March 25th, 2008.
That's amazing. So it's just
first meeting. Yeah, I just celebrated 17 years.
That's awesome.
A month ago.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
Now I'm gonna sober birthday. I'll get you.
Yeah.
I was wondering. I was wondering that because lots of people get fucked up on cocaine at 23. So I was curious how you.
Yeah.
So it was people that reached out.
And people who made no. I mean, there were lots of
people you knew.
It was always fun. And so, in a group of addicts, the other addicts in the room would tell me that I had a problem while they were like doing bungs. You gotta get yourself sorted out. You've got a problem. As they're like passing the bag around to me. So it wasn't those people that made themselves available to me. As I said, like going out, and you kind of, I mean, at that time, you could certainly see when someone was being like extra messy.
Yeah.
And like, I don't often go out, and I personally haven't said this to other people, but I was told by these sober people, if this is something you want to look at, if this is something that, we think you're a great person, we think that you can do a lot, you have a lot ahead of you, you're so young, if this is something maybe that you think is in your way. And it was like, they were kind of like reading my mind. I think because they had all been through that experience.
Yeah.
They all knew these were like performers and like nightlife personalities and like other point people. And so they knew exactly what I was going through because they had gone through it as well. And so it was like, I see this now, and other people sometimes, like little baby me on the dance floor, I'm like, if you right, like I don't want to stop. I do like I just want them to like, And so I had a moment of clarity and was able to like come through and contact people and reach out.
That's amazing. And honestly, that's literally why I'm doing this podcast, because even when I remember I was sober for most of my 20s, then decided I got into the circuit scene, started doing party drugs again, and then did that for a few years as I got into porn. And I remember meeting, and I was struggling a little bit, where even though it was just party drugs compared to heroin, which was the first time, which, there's a big difference. That was my short. There's a big difference between being a 30-year-old gay man, going to a circuit party, doing a ketamine, taking a pill, doing that heroin at 17 where I had nothing. Shoot. I did. Yeah. So my thought was, why can't I just be like everybody else? Yeah. So, but I do have problems with addiction. Yeah. The big epiphany I had the second time around is I can't be like everybody else. No. Heroin at 17. So it's, I realized that. Yeah. So, but anyway, I was definitely going through some personal, like just addiction issues and abusing it and getting fucked up. Yeah. And I remember, Logan Stevens, who is another person in the industry, and he is sober. I don't know how many years, but he's been sober for quite a bit, or at least he was. I think maybe he had drinks or something. I don't know, but he doesn't do drugs. And when I met him, I was like, I met him at a circuit party and found that out, and it like blew my mind. And then I found out that Boomer Banks is sober, and Bo Butler, and I got Bo Butler, and it was like seeing these other people that are sober, that are my age, that are doing the same things I'm doing. It was like I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about the fact that you could go to a circuit party and not do drugs. So it's I think it's so important for other people to see that. Yeah, you know what I mean. So I know that. So you did the full 12 steps.
I did a couple times.
Oh, real sick. I did not. I never did the 12 steps. I know about it. I don't know all the steps. I don't know all the words. But I did go to lots of meetings, treatment. So I'm familiar with the program. And hearing it. And I've sat through hundreds of those meetings that like when it was time to get sober, it was all really helpful to me. But I never actually did it. But my understanding is that maybe the last step, or towards the end, it's this commitment to continue to help others.
Yeah, it's sponsorship is a big part of AA and a lot of 12-step programs, and it's about spreading the word. It's about spreading the word. Always sounds like witnessing or proselytizing, and it's not. It's certainly not looking for converts, which I have to be very clear about. Being there for the alcoholic who still suffers.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, that's really great. I'm glad that you can do that, and I'm sure that's really rewarding.
I haven't, so for full disclosure, so I have 17 years. At the beginning of my sobriety journey, I went to a lot of meetings when I was living in San Francisco. Since moving to Europe, my meeting attendance has certainly dropped off. I don't go very frequently. When I'm in the US, I really enjoy going again because it's a different vibe, and it's kind of, those are the rooms that I grew up in, being in LA, New York, and San Francisco. So it's also an opportunity for me to see old friends and catch up and things like that. When I was living in the US, I had a sponsor and a sponsee. I am currently not working with anyone as far as sponsorship or sponsees, but I do make myself available to anyone who has questions or needs to talk or anything like that. But it's very different than bringing someone through the 12 steps.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad to hear that. How, what was your biggest struggles with getting sober? I mean, you have the 12 steps, which is a nice guide. That doesn't mean it's easy. So how was that?
I think for me at the beginning, it took me a while to wrap my head around quitting everything because I assumed that it was for life. And so that felt like such like a big leap of faith or transition or going into something else. I didn't realize you could relapse so that you could go out. I unfortunately learned that along the way, that people would like start drinking and using again. But I was so naive and so young that I was just like, yeah, that's it. You're done. No more. I'm confused with it. Yes, that's it. You're done. It's the goal. So yeah, certainly. But I guess I didn't enter into the idea of sobriety lightly because I thought it would be a lifelong commitment. And along this journey, I've discovered that there are people who step away and sometimes to negative consequences and sometimes not. Sometimes their journey continues in another way through spirituality or through other occupation or anything like that. But at the time, I think also sobriety itself has become much larger in popular media and social media in the last 5 to 10 years.
People posting about it.
Almost 20 years ago. People weren't talking about it as much.
Yeah.
To the same extent.
Like you said, the anonymous part was much more.
It was much more. Yeah, exactly. So I thought it's like, that's it.
Right.
No more. You can't go back.
and that's why that's what I tell people also, because like I said, I had a lot of struggles and problems and trauma with surrounding drug addiction. For me, being 100% sober is the requirement. It's the solution. All my problems, I need to do that. Not everybody needs to do that.
No.
And I think that there's also a lot of value in fact, that's actually what started for me, is that I was so fed up with, I got really fucked up all summer. When I first moved to Atlanta, I was like doing ecstasy, way too much ecstasy. And I was so over it. My brain was broken. I was broke and I was tired and sad. And then I decided I want to feel better. Yeah. And I want to go, it was market days. I got super fucked up. I thought you were going to get better for market day. Dry out. I barely even remember market days. It was horrible. And I was like, I'm going to not use any drugs or alcohol for 90 days. I'm going to make it till Halloween. Perfect. And we do hella ecstasy. That's just my point. I did. I started to feel so good. And I started to sleep better. I started to eat better. And I was just more motivated. I had more energy. I was in a better mood. I started going to the gym. Wild. And what was really interesting is, I felt better a week later. I felt better 2 weeks later. But the sweet spot I realized was 3 weeks later. I felt like $1 million. And I felt like $1 million every day. And then I was like, wait a second. When was the last time I went 3 weeks without any drugs or alcohol? When was the last time I felt like this? Because it's been years. Yeah. And that disgusted me a little bit. I was upset. It made me feel bad. And it made me feel good also. I can feel like this. I could choose to feel like this. And the problem is the drugs and alcohol are so routinely part of our weekends and our culture that even if you were to skip out on the weekend, but then party the next weekend, that's only 2 weeks. So we don't get to that 3 weeks. And I that piqued my interest and I kept doing that. So there was a good year before I got sober where I was doing that. I was partying, feeling bad about it, going 2, 3, 4 months sober, and then partying and my whole life would fall apart. It was like I felt like $1 million and everything would crash. And then, and my point is that for me, the solution, because of my history and my addiction, is to permanently be sober. But the thing that not enough people realize is that you can still take advantage of that, even if you don't have to be sober for the rest of your life, even if you don't have addiction problems, even if you but are not an addict. Everybody could gain some clarity and some sense of peace from deciding to take 3 months off. You know what I mean? Like dry January. A lot of people do dry January. And I wish that more people did dry January. My friend Brian did dry January, that turned into dry spring, that turned into, now he's been sober for a year and a half. And I had him on the podcast. He didn't do the 12 steps. And I said, do you consider yourself an addict? And he said, no. I beg to differ. He's my best friend. But it's just interesting. It's like that's good for him. It's true. He didn't need meetings. He didn't go to rehab. So, it's all.
Yeah, certainly for everyone, it's a little bit different. I'm an alcoholic and a drug addict, and it leaks out into other things and shopping and fucking and,
Yeah, what about like sex and
it's amazing sober.
I think your answer is just it's amazing.
You should try it. You should really consider it. I think that might be something for you.
Wow, that's when I got sober. Okay, before I got sober, I definitely was entering or in sex addict territory.
Mm-hmm.
And then even when I became sober, it was like that transfer of addictions where I was a good 6 months. I was realizing I was identifying with a sex addict.
Yeah.
And with that, my thought was that I realized that I was using sex to change the way I feel, but I didn't like how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
But I was tired, frustrated, cranky. And then but when I got sober, I don't feel bad anymore. Like I said, I feel like a million bucks for the most part. If something goes wrong, I feel pretty good. And then that eliminates this need to, So what have you learned in your sobriety? Is there any
it's been so long that I feel like I've just learned life. Like I've grown up because I stopped so early. I feel like I've just been able to grow up. I mean, I still feel like a kid sometimes, but I realized that being an adult is to all kind of a facade. Grown ups don't have it figured out. My parents had no idea what they were doing. But still, I feel like I've just been able to grow up and be a human being and enter society.
And that's really great that you did that.
Do the day to day. Just do everything. Because it's been I know other people that got sober very early, and so that kind of what did you learn? It's well, learned I was an addict, and then I also learned how to pay rent, how to balance a checkbook, how to drive, and all of these things that are just kind of rites of passages as an adult and as someone living in society. And I think that if I had stayed drinking and using, I probably would have learned how to do these things, but not as well and not as quickly and efficiently. It's given me the opportunity to pursue dreams and even develop dreams. I don't think when I was younger and using, I didn't really dream for anything or want for much, except eventually escape from addiction is what I hoped and dreamed for. And after, thank God, able to check that off that well, what do you want? And being able to ask yourself that and having the consciousness and wherewithal to then set things in motion and be I want to do porn.
Yeah.
How do we do that? Well, I lived in San Francisco at the time, so it was very easy to apply to studios and get a gym membership and go to the gym, work out, and fuck, and, stuff like that. And that certainly would not have been something I would have felt comfortable doing or would have needed more drugs and alcohol to do before getting sober.
That's actually what I was going to ask. I was thinking is, do you think if you didn't become sober, do you think you'd be here right now?
No, absolutely not. I wouldn't be anywhere. I wouldn't be living in Europe. I wouldn't have gone to finish college. I wouldn't have nothing.
Right.
That's getting sober. No.
Do you feel like being a sober addict has advantages? Do you feel do you see your addiction as a useful thing?
In that I've done a lot of work on myself, and I work with a therapist currently and take time to reflect on my actions and my internal monologue and things like that. I think that there is, and how I interact with other people, I think that it has been advantageous to have gone through recovery and done all of that work. And often people who maybe don't spend that much time outside of themselves interact completely different with, other people in the world. So yes.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's how I feel. I feel like being an addict, we're so fixated on things, which is great. That's great. That's such a good tool to have.
Yeah.
It's just that, most people apply that to, drugs and alcohol, and then they don't.
Yeah.
But when we figure it out, you can like talk to the world and stuff.
Absolutely.
How do you feel like, what's your experience being sober in the adult film industry?
Only good. As I said, I don't think I would be here. I wouldn't have a career or anything without having gotten sober. And it's very easy for me to wake up early or show up on set or, it's not, I don't need anything to get through the day except maybe a boulder pill. Whereas like people who are very active in their addiction, need more than that. They need to feed their addiction, or they need to. Unfortunately, in Berlin, there are lots of people who need G to function, or need G to film, G to get up, G to have fun, or ketamine, or MM3, or something. They need a drug to be able to feel horny, to be able to make content, to be able to go out to a party. And I do not need any of that. I think that there are lots of instances and cases. This is not an industry for someone that needs to take a dose to get hard or to be horny, to have sex, to create content. And there are people who do that, and they will not have long careers. I have seen people burn out or unfortunately die because they have needed that. And it's filling my opinion is that it is filling another void that they have, and that they could potentially do amazing, great things in the industry or in life in general, but there's that one stumbling block, unfortunately, that's in the way.
I agree. That's it. Not everybody, but that's definitely a problem where some OnlyFans creators, I've seen it. I've done it. I've done it where people like get so in the habit of doing a dose of G before filming. I've had quite a few people that have realized, even not with OnlyFans, that they've realized that like for the last 2 years, they've only had sex under the influence of G or something. And then decided they want to scale back or be sober again. And then now are struggling and have a lot of anxiety in their sex life because they've not been sober.
I know lots of guys who, unfortunately, it's a slippery slope or like slow going, and not like, it's like, oh, sure, why not? And then you kind of lose track about when the last time you had sex not under the influence was, because it happens so often. And then decide like, oh no, I'll try it without. And like your body is very good at adapting. And when you take away those things, then your body's like, oh no, I don't know how to do this anymore. And it has to relearn having sober sex. That's something that a lot of people, my experience in the rooms was that a lot of people coming out from addiction, coming into being sober, was that learning how to have sex sober, especially if sex and drugs were very intertwined, was a completely new endeavor, and often something very, very difficult. That kind of like untethering the two can take a long time. It does happen eventually. It also depends on what you're using. If it's just G, that's one thing. If someone is using meth, that's something else that can really change your brain wiring and chemistry, so that they're very intrinsically linked to each other, unfortunately.
That's such a danger, is the drugs that are so linked to sex. And G is really dangerous because there's such little in the moment, such little consequences. Like if I were to have 2 shots of alcohol and then have sex, by the time the sex is over, my head's gonna hurt. I'm gonna be falling asleep. I'm not gonna be able to think properly. You do G, you're high until you're not. And then it just kind of fades away. And then because of that, people start doing it every day. And that's, I think, a big problem.
I was in LA not too long ago, and it was a little while ago now. It was over a year ago, and it was one of the Drag Race premiere nights. And it was just a bunch of gays watching the first episode of Drag Race, and all of these phones were going off. And I'm so naive that like, 'cause I don't take drugs, and there are all of these like new drugs that have come out since I got sober 17 years ago. I can list all of these things, but I don't know what they do. I don't know what they feel like. All of these phone timers were going off at the viewing party, and it was like, what is that?
Right.
And we would all like go to the bathroom, and my friend was like, they're doing G.
Yeah.
So it was like, why? I just think it's really sad in like the gay community that like on a Thursday night or whatever weeknight it was that the episode came out, that like just spending time with your friends, you have to like take G.
I know.
To, like watch a TV show that's entertaining on its own.
I know.
Why? When did this happen?
I think about that at circuit parties. It's like when I first started, because I still go to circuit parties. I love circuit parties. I go to them sober. It's just different now.
Yeah.
But when I started to try to get used to being sober, when I first started and still wanted to go, because I'm like going, but it was hard in the beginning. I remember like looking around and it's just like, there's like a crazy beat and music and DJ and laser lights and all these hot shirtless men. And it's like, this should be enough.
Why would
Exactly. My friend, get my dicks up. Like this should.
What are you drunk?
Like I should be high. Also, like that's a lot.
Yeah.
But one thing that I do understand now is that because people ask me for advice on going to circuit parties sober, even if they don't want to go sober and don't have a problem, but they just don't want to be doing drugs in the party.
Yep.
And I kind of don't know what to say about that because at the same time, I'm very outgoing and I know everybody. I know a lot of people in the community. So, and I'm very sexually active and sex positive. So when I
heard that about you.
So when I go to these parties, there's lots for me to do. There's people I know. I will have sex and I like to be like silly and goofy and outgoing. And so some people don't know how to go to a circuit party because they need or they feel they need drugs and alcohol.
Right.
To loosen up and to be more social. And I don't know what to say to that.
I don't really have an answer for that either. I think that I can understand wanting to feel, I certainly understand wanting to feel a part of and wanting to feel like I can participate. Because I felt for a very long time that I was like outside looking in at like, let's be with my fist against the glass, nothing mnemonic. That I wanted to participate and wanted to be involved. And I can certainly understand that desire. Originally for me, doing drugs and alcohol was certainly a way to feel like I was participating and being involved. I don't think that's necessary. I don't know what to say to someone. I mean, I guess you can leave whenever you want.
Yeah.
Is maybe the answer. Like if you go in, I maybe give it a couple minutes. Don't leave after 5.
Right.
But like give it an hour, get something. A lot of people are like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Like just get a bottle of water or a juice or a Red Bull and you have something in your hand, put your other hand in your pocket or hold your dick.
Right.
You have something to do with your hands. Talk to people, move around, and if it's not feeling right, maybe maybe try it again later. Maybe it's not time yet.
That's how I feel. And I love
any
it.
social experience. I think not necessarily just
because
but like any club or
any game I like. But I love doing these things and I'm experienced doing these things sober. And there are times where I go and half hour in, I'm like, you know what? I'm just not feeling it. I'm gonna go, and I'm not upset. I'm not bored. It's not the night. Or sometimes I am having fun, and everybody around me starts getting really sloppy, and I'm like, oh, I was having a good time. And now I'm getting bumped into it. We're drooling on me, so I'm gonna go, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so I guess I do know what to say is that you don't have to go to a circuit party, or you don't have to stay at a circuit party. You know, I that's something that's important to me because I know all these people and I've been doing it.
Yeah.
But I think that if you go to a party and you remove the drugs and you're having a bad time every time, then maybe you don't like circuit parties. But
then maybe it's not the party for you.
Fake fun. You're just like being high, and that's not healthy.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So actually, I was actually going to ask that, although you kind of just answered it, is that you live in Berlin.
I do,
and that's like a big nightlife. Tell me about that. How's it like that living in Berlin?
I don't go out often.
Okay.
I like to say I go out 3 times a year. Go for Easter, Pride, and Folsom.
Oh wow!
Like there's every now and then there will be like something in between, but I don't really go out that often. And typically daytime. I like a daytime event. So I just went out for Easter weekend. I had a friend visiting from out of town. We went to Berghain and we went to Snacks, and so we went very early to skip the line, and I was good after like 4 hours. I mean, 4 hours sounds like a long time, but I know people that weekend that stayed for 36.
Oh my
so
I think I missed that.
but so I pack a bag with snacks. I take my ibuprofen for my feet, and I go and I talk to people. And if I'm feeling uncomfortable, I get a bottle of water, I sit in the corner, and I just watch people. I think that those events can be so interesting just to watch people. And I can also guarantee that if I'm feeling awkward or out of place, I am not the only one. I am not unique in that. I think that a lot of the people there are also feeling that at the same time. I hear that from people who are starting a fitness journey, that they say, like, I can't go to the gym, everyone's staring at me, or I feel so uncomfortable. Like, I can't work out, everyone's gonna know. And it's like, no.
Right.
It's the same thing at the club. No one is looking at you.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing something really weird, or like have a giant dick and you're jerking off in the middle of the dance floor. No.
Right.
Everyone's concerned with themselves. Everyone else is in their head. They're all. Yeah, exactly. So I don't go out that much. I feel some ways that I'm kind of left out of the social scene in Berlin because it is so party heavy. That's something that I still struggle to make peace with, because I do sometimes feel alone, or I see like people posting about like going out and like why can't I do that? I know like why I can't do that, but will still ask myself like, why can't I do that?
Right. Yeah. I still ask myself that, and I found the answer. I've discovered the answer multiple times.
Yeah. Like I said, I know why I can't do that.
Yeah.
But then I like meet friends for coffee or call someone up or like have dinner or something like that, have another social experience that is something that I can do, that I can spend more time at, and I won't feel terrible afterwards if I were to like go out and drink.
That's the thing that I realized as I got sober and started to pull away from the circuit scene. And I'm still in the circuit scene, but I did pull away. And when you pull away from that, you start discovering other pockets in the gay community, and you realize like, oh, not everyone was up all night doing G and Molly, on Saturday, and it's like, then I started going to the gym on a Sunday. Then everybody else in West Hollywood, or I think everyone else in West Hollywood is all fucked up, but then I go to the gym and there's a whole other group of people that didn't go out, you know what I mean? And then like the CrossFit community, you do CrossFit also.
Not anymore. You did. I did not anymore. So like, I went to the dark side. I do bodybuilding.
You do what?
Bodybuilding now.
Oh yeah. I think CrossFit's the dark side. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, like, and it doesn't have to be CrossFit. But there's any group fitness or there's like
hiking.
There's hiking. There's lots of
absolutely.
There's other people doing other stuff. What advice would you have for anybody that is sober curious?
I can't speak to self-directed abstinence because I was never able to do that. I only made it like 4 days without cocaine, trying to do it myself. Like couldn't stop doing out drinking. So I often recommend to people that want to get sober to check out local AA or CMA meetings.
Or any of the
a local meeting.
12-step
program. I think my experience has been is that AA is a very beginner-friendly, basic. And then once you kind of realize you have other problems, you can graduate and go into either SLA or CMA or OA or anything like that. Check out a meeting. If you think that might not be something for yourself, you probably don't know. Give it a try, and not just one. Sometimes, even as someone who's been to hundreds of meetings, there are still bad meetings. It could be an off night. It could be my mind space. It could be the meeting itself. It could be the person talking. It could be lots of different things. So just one, I have never let one meeting color my experience of the entire program itself. So I was very lucky in that when I started, I went to 90 meetings in 90 days. I did more than that. I did because I double dipped some days, and so I did probably like 100 or something.
Which means you wanted it.
I was so feeling so terrible. I was ready to do anything that I was told. I was not able to do it myself. And so that's part of like, for me, surrendering and saying, I don't know what to do. Please help me. Tell me what I should do because I can't do it myself. And so I really recommend checking out meetings. If you've tried it and you're like, oh, not for me, I don't like it, I don't like certain aspects of it, talk to a therapist. That's kind of like the next level which I think as gay adults, queer adults in this world, everyone should be working with one at some point in their life. Maybe not consistently. For a very long time, I was not working with a therapist, and I recently started about 6 months ago. working with a therapist again after years of feeling like I didn't need one. And now, like 6 months ago, I'm like, oh, I need one again.
Yeah.
I've got to talk about things. So that would be another line. A lot of larger metropolitan cities have gay LGBT centers, and some of them offer group therapy and group counseling. It's another fantastic resource to just sit in a room with other people and talk about your problem.
Yeah.
And just, I think really it's about like communicating and getting it out and not keeping it inside you. Because that's what I did for so long, is that like I had all of these problems, but I wasn't telling anyone about them, and I was keeping them to myself, and they were eating me up inside.
Yeah.
And that's why I was drinking and using.
And that's a very good point about therapy, because even when I got sober the second time, I never went back to meetings, rehab, or anything like that. But I talked about my addiction with my therapist every single week, or every time I came in. And, there's definitely two types of addicts. Yeah. My friend Brian, and what I said in a previous episode, I asked him if he's an addict. He said no. In fairness, he established that he didn't want to use drugs anymore. Stopped.
That's great.
Sister Roma.
Yep.
Same thing. She decided she didn't want to do drugs anymore. She just stopped. The fact that they have the ability to do that is amazing. Yeah. So one advice I would give is that if you recognize that you struggle to have control or to stop, or maybe need a break, and you physically can't, that's something to be very aware of. Because then,
I think that's a signal that there may be something else at work. My experience is that's for someone who's struggling with drugs and alcohol, that's rather an exception as opposed to a rule. That typically normies can just stop and be like, oh, I feel bad, I shouldn't do this anymore. And if I'm someone who's doing cocaine every day, cannot just stop, then I just can't stop.
Right.
Something else needs to change.
Something else needs to change. And if you are intimidated by going to a meeting, therapy is a great place to start. And I say this all the time. I did not do the 12 steps, but I was court ordered to go to quite a few meetings. And like you said about finding a good meeting, or some meetings are bad. Yeah. When I was court ordered to go to meetings, I was not trying to go to my favorite one. I literally looked up the best, the closest one to me at the most convenient time. It was 5 minutes away. I went, got my thing signed, left. And you could do a little more digging to find a better one. But anyway, even though I didn't do the 12 steps, I've been to rehab 3 times. I've gotten through hundreds of hours of treatment between that and the meeting. I didn't give a fuck at the time. But when all this shit went down in my 20s and I got off of heroin and I was really not in a good place and I decided I needed to be sober, I still heard all of it. So when I was ready, it was there. And I think meetings are very helpful, even to decide where you're going to go from there. And if you're not ready to go to a meeting, a therapist is a great place to start, which is a little bit maybe less intimidating.
Similarly to potentially having bad meetings, like you can also have bad therapists. So that should also not be. Like I said, I just started 6 months ago with a therapist. He's gay. He's a sex worker. He's sober.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Gay sex worker, sober, has experience with porn. There's so little.
Wait, is it me?
Am I right there? Well, today.
You are.
But there's so little that I have to explain to him to create like a background or like a jumping off point. I can just be like, oh, I'm going to a gay porn awards weekend and I'm a little bit in my head about personalities, and like, he already has a background to that. Someone who is not versed in that, even if it's someone who's gay, would be like, okay, let's, you have to fill in all of this backgrounds that can take up half the session before you get to like what the problem is.
And there's lots of things that are pretty normal in our lives that a straight woman therapist would be like, I'm calling the police.
A friend of mine was talking about his relationship with his boyfriend. And for whatever reason, the topic of like going to a club and having sex with someone else in the dark room triggered something in their relationship. But it had nothing to do with having sex with a stranger. But she could not understand that. She's like, but you cheated on him. He's like, no, it's okay. And she's like, why would that be okay? That is your life partner.
That's like stressful to me.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the other thing about like finding a therapist is not just like anyone. It's not any meeting. It's finding the right one. Unfortunately, that can sometimes you can be super lucky. The first meeting I walked into was gay AA in the Castro in San Francisco. I wouldn't say I felt like I was at home, but there were people I recognized and I got phone numbers and I was able to talk to people.
Right.
And I did feel a part of.
Yeah.
And similarly with the therapist that I'm working with now, it's someone who I immediately felt very safe with and could talk to and explain my situation and what I'm going through.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that is not always the case. And so I would recommend if someone's feeling uncomfortable, if someone goes to one session and is like, this is not for me, but you're already thinking about it, I promise you, it is probably for you.
Yeah.
This is probably what you should be doing. Do not talk yourself out of this process. Please see someone else, get a second opinion or a third opinion, or talk to another friend, or try again until it fits. Unfortunately, similar to like trying on clothes, the first garment doesn't always fit. Sometimes you have to try it on a couple times. You've got weird brains and weird bodies, and it's not one size fits all.
Right. And also, the thing is, if you are at this point, that means your life is in shambles. So we're getting there.
Often on the road.
So if you try and you're like, this is not for me, you will be reminded. Shit's gonna keep happening. So you'll get a nudge to try again.
It'll keep getting worse until you're ready.
Right. It will keep getting worse and worse forever until you figure out, who to talk to. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a shame because I to find my therapist, I use this website, Psychology Today, which is one of the first ones I looked up to find a therapist, and I found that they have a filter for insurance company, which is great. So you can make sure that you're covered. But they also had a filter for different types of therapy, including one of them was LGBTQ. Right. And it was like, it didn't mean that they were gay.
Yeah.
But they were like, everybody I called,
of course.
but the thing is, they have the choice to check off what things they want to be in their profile as their specialty. And then I filtered for my insurance LGBTQ, and I just called. And most of the therapists don't pick up. You leave a voicemail. And then I call and set up a first appointment and try maybe three in the same week and pick one. And that's how I found a gay therapist in New Jersey. I found a gay therapist when I was in Atlanta and now in LA. And I've been giving this advice to people for years. And I just wanted to help somebody find this, and they removed the LGBT filter. So I'm still putting it out there into the universe in case there's maybe there's probably another website that does it. Anywhere in case that they bring it back. But really great.
Mine was word of mouth. Just a friend of a friend suggested him, and that's how I found him. But in Berlin, there's something called Schwulenberatung.
What?
It basically means gay consultation. So there's,
I had a feeling that.
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely what that means. But there's a center that does. It's essentially LGBTQIA plus center that provides consultation services for queer people in the city. And so depending on what your specific problem is, you can reach out to them for services. And one of them is also mental health. And so they provide a list. Unfortunately, often they're not covered by insurance, something that you have to pay privately.
Okay.
Sometimes they are. Everyone's a little bit different in Germany, the way that works, because we have state health insurance. So some people are certified to take it and some people are not. And so you have to figure it out. I pay privately for mine. Other people do get it through state.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. There are lots
also in the U.S.
benefits. Yeah. There's lots of major cities offer these resources.
Yes. So.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for this really awesome episode. Is there anything, where can people find you? Is there anything you like to plug, website, Instagram, anything like that?
My username on all social media is just can't stop, STAHP, stop.
Which confused that on me because we all think your name is Justin.
It's Justin. Well, recently someone reached out to me. So my performer name is Troy Daniels. Recently someone reached out to me and said, "Hey, Daniel." Just none of my names. Also, Justin is none of my names. Hey, Daniel. Right. It was someone wanting to do brand promotion, and I was like, well, I'm not going to answer this one because that's not my name.
Right.
Just can't stop on IG, Twitter, OF, JFF.com. Help them. Because it's unique. I got lock on.
Yeah. Let's go down the same one.
Yeah.
And now we're going to go have sex. Bye. Men playing. Well, that's it for this episode of Stop the Ride. I really want to thank Troy for sharing his story today and for being on my podcast. Join me next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, where I chat with adult content creator Crush Daddy about why he had to give up weed and coke and pills and opiates and pretty much everything. You can see all of our episodes plus some additional content at stoptheridepodcast.com, and make sure to follow or subscribe on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. If you enjoyed the show, please do me a big favor and share with a friend or leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time on Stop the Ride.
This podcast is brought to you by Liberty Lane Films, truly independent.